Okay, now, where's the button? I think it's right here. Welcome to Moon Equals Wrestling. I, of course, am Dewan Alhearn, more affectionately known as the Moon, and this is a different background. Taking a little time, doing a little writer's retreat, and while I'm doing a writer's retreat, I've still got to record this podcast. So you are seeing the inside of my hotel room. Thank you, Holiday Inn in New Albany, Indiana. You knew how long it took me to just find the right place, the right lighting, so that I could do all this. Insane. And I hope the microphone is working. It should be. I think I did a test. We're gonna go with it. Cool. Great. This is obviously a post WrestleMania episode of the podcast, and of course, if you're watching this, then you've seen WrestleMania 40. WrestleMania 40 was pretty dope. Um, in trying to think of how I wanted to format this particular episode, I decided what I'm not going to do is go match by match and say, "Yay, I liked it. No, I didn't. Here's what they could have changed." I feel like that's kind of like the general way of doing a podcast like this, and I decided I'm not doing that. So instead, I want to give you my overall thoughts, compare my yes or no's on how well I did on my predictions episode, of course, and then just kind of highlight what I liked and what I didn't and why. I figure that's pretty simple. I mean, if you're here to watch this, you're here for my, a regular dude who loves wrestling's opinion on different things in wrestling. And of course, that's what I'm going to give you. You can go anywhere for a rundown on how the show did. Twitter's already got the Meltzer star ratings that are up, and I don't agree with all of them, but again, it's one man's opinion. That's all this is, one man's opinion. So let's get into that. First things first, I have to agree with a lot of the criticism that this is quite possibly one of the best WrestleMania ever. I've started watching wrestling around the time of WrestleMania 15, WrestleMania 16. I think the first WrestleMania that I actually watched was WrestleMania 17 or WrestleMania XL, which most people consider to be the greatest WrestleMania of all time. I've seen I've seen just about every single WrestleMania since then, and I've watched some of the earlier ones. I didn't watch like the first three, but nonetheless, in my opinion, I'd say that WrestleMania 40 is quite possibly the best WrestleMania. Does that mean every card was a banger? No. But we'll get into that. So that's my overall general view. First things first. I wanted to get into the predictions episode that I did at the beginning of the year. And some of those have come true. Some of them did come to fruition. Um, I had predicted that Sasha Banks was going to come back to WWE to help out Bailey. This is the situation I wanted her to help Bailey in. However, we know that Mercedes Moné is all elite, so that did not happen. So I didn't get that one. Oh, it's raining outside. That didn't happen. But what did kind of happen was Bianca Belair teaming up with Jade Cargill. I didn't mention Naomi. I was kind of hoping for the tag titles, but I did get Jade Cargill and their alignment with Bianca Belair. So that's a plus. Also, I predicted that R-Truth was going to get a real serious title championship. Again, like I mentioned in that particular episode, the 24/7 championship does not count as a title. It just doesn't. One, it's not there anymore, and two, it was dumb. It was dumb. But you got Serious Gold and Awesome Truth won their that part of the tag team matchup. So I'm pretty excited, pretty happy with that. Those are my 2024 predictions. I might have to go back through those a little bit more and figure out what the rest of them were. Remember what the rest of them were, and then keep track of that throughout the year. See how well I did. Of course, for the 2025 prediction episode that I will obviously do January of 2025, we will of course go over all 10 of the predictions that I made here. See how well I did. So far, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Now, for how I called this particular pay per view, I actually did pretty good. Um, the only one that I missed was the Intercontinental Championship match with Sami Zayn and Gunther. I predicted that Gunther was going to retain. I was kind of hoping the story would be more leaning towards the Chad Gable direction. But Sami Zayn as champion is good too. I'm not upset with that at all. Congratulations, Sami Zayn. Also, I was wrong about the LWO Legado del Fantasma match. Um, One, I had predicted that match before Andrade's involvement. But either way, I picked Santos and Dominic winning, and they did not. I was also wrong about the Bride, which they still haven't been called the Bride on TV. But the team of the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley against the Final Testament. And I'll talk about that match a little bit more here in a minute. But I was wrong about who I thought would win. I still feel like the better story would be the Final Testament winning. I'll get in that in a moment. The other one that I got wrong, um, well, if you were paying attention to last week's episode, you know the last one I got wrong, and I'll discuss that in a second. Because I don't have everything set up right in front of me. I'm grabbing my water because that's going to be important. I have a lot of talking to do. One sec. Ooh, great t-shirt. Great t-shirt available at DewanLHearn.com/shop. And now, the good and the bad. Let's get into it. Obviously, you know what? Let's go into all the bad stuff. The thing that I didn't like first. We can end on positive notes. I like that approach better. As I alluded to, the other match that I got wrong, United States Championship match. Logan Paul won. The triple threat match, it was no disqualification by nature, and the match itself was fine. Don't like Logan Paul. I've never liked Logan Paul. I didn't like Logan Paul before he came to WWE. I still don't like him now. I can objectively say he's good in the ring, probably better than he should be, better than anyone expected him to be. Plays a great heel. I don't like him. I guess is kind of the point. So judge that however you want. Also, the Usos fight, and that's a thing. That's a thing. A lot of people were iffy on the Uso fight in the first place. Uh, admittedly, I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people. And I wasn't convinced that this particular part of the story, this particular part of the bloodline situation was actually going to be um, conducive to the story. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like there was enough built up between Jay and Jimmy individually to make this story worth this particular chapter. Now, all things considered, those who follow interviews know that Jimmy and Jay years ago have stated publicly and on air that they wanted to do a one-on-one match at WrestleMania. That was always their dream. That was always their hope. And I'm happy that they had the chance to do that. I think the situation that they were placed in, as far as the overall bloodline story, I think that worked. I think the build to the story worked. Um, I just don't think the match had the same gravity we were all hoping for. I haven't seen any commentary from Jimmy and or Jay about how they felt the match went. Um, the action in the ring was fine. The actual match itself structurally was fine. I wasn't interested enough. I felt like Jay was going to go over. He did. I still feel like this Jimmy Uso character on his own hasn't reached a peak with me. It hasn't. I haven't connected, and I don't think the crowd's really connected with Jimmy the way they've connected with Jay. And I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that Jay is being a little bit more charismatic. I think that Jimmy is in this role where when he went individual, when he was just Jimmy Uso after the split and they got their own individual music, um, Jimmy just kind of seemed like this wide-eyed, crazy, kind of obsessively bloodline kind of guy, and I don't think that worked. I think what we got from Jay Uso was more consistent with what we got with Jay Uso in the bloodline. And I think what we got with Jimmy Uso was different. I think he took where he was and he went over here with it, which I understand. Everything that they've done makes sense. And I think if that's where he was intentionally going, he's done a good job at what he's doing. I just don't like what he's doing, if that makes sense. I hope so. So, generally speaking, I wasn't a big fan of that match. It was kind of reminds me of when we had the big pay per view match of Matt versus Jeff Hardy, and I didn't like that match either. It was boring. Matt and Jeff Hardy versus each other in WWE was boring. And this match was slightly more interesting than boring, but at the same time, I would have been perfectly fine if this match took place on Raw the next night. That's just me. Also, the only other thing I really didn't like about the show wasn't even this part of the show itself. It was the promotion leading to the show uh, for the Io Sky versus Bailey match. The match itself was fantastic. Io and Bailey did a great job. They told a great story, and the match was fine. Congratulations to Bailey for winning that championship and overcoming Io Sky. But I feel like the match needed more hype. I feel like the match deserved more attention considering that Bailey was the winner of the women's rumble. And I just figure that if you're going to have her in that position, that match should have been more prominent. Um, I'm not so sure I would. I'm not so sure I would go so far as to say Becky Lynch should have won the Rumble, chosen Rhea, and then Bailey win Elimination Chamber to automatically go against EO, and you create a story around that. While that probably would have worked and lined up better with how they promoted everything, I don't think that that would have been the right answer. I think Becky Lynch winning Elimination Chamber, Bailey winning the Rumble were the right choices. I just think there could have been more motivation in that match. There could have been more hype leading to it. I think that's could be more. I mean, you had the Damage Control. Most of Damage Control was involved in the 6 woman tag, and I feel like that got more attention with Naomi and Jade and Bianca. That got more attention than the EO Bailey match. Personal opinion. Um, I just don't think that was the right way. I don't think that was the right way. That's it. Those are my only complaints. Um, Fuck Logan Paul. There may or may not be an FLP shirt also available on DwanLhearn.com/shop. There is. You should grab that shirt as well because fuck Logan Paul. But now for the things I liked. And I mean, honestly, I have like 5 things written here, and they're all fantastic. Um, I alluded to the street fight with the Pride and Final Testament in the earlier part of the episode. You don't need to sell Bobby Lashley. You know what I mean? And you don't need to sell the Street Profits. Already over. They're already they're already heavily liked. I don't think they needed to be sold to anyone. Do need to sell the Final Testament. But since coming up from NXT, there hasn't been a lot of support, in my view, of Karrion Cross. Yeah, you're giving Karrion Cross a faction. That's great. You're giving him strong backup with AOP. That's great. You're giving him a manager like Paul Ellering. That's great. But I still don't care about Final Testament. I forgot that Final Testament was a thing for a while. So I feel like there should be a lot more energy put behind the Final Testament to really get them over and to sell them to the crowd. Um, I feel like with a victory over Bobby Lashley and the Profits, I feel like I don't know if you can hear that in the hallway. They're doing housekeeping in the hallway. Um, Podcast in the hotel, gotta love it. I'm not editing any of that out because I don't want. I just feel like with a victory over the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley, that would have given the Final Testament some credibility. I feel like that would have given them some talking points to move forward. That could have led to a more prominent Bobby Lashley versus Karrion Cross match. And for that, you have Karrion Cross win. Now, personally, I don't think Bobby Lashley should lose to Karrion Cross, but we don't need to sell Bobby Lashley. We need to sell Karrion Cross. So this is where Karrion Cross comes out and beats Bobby Lashley, and then at some point in time, let AOP beat the hell out of Logan Paul. Create a challenge for Karrion Cross. Karrion Cross versus Logan Paul for the United States Championship. And the title goes to Karrion Cross. It can be underhanded. It can be dirty. You're not going to turn Logan Paul babyface. nor carrying Cross. But what you will do is put a title on carrying Cross, and that will give some more legitimacy to carrying Cross and to Final Testament. Right now, if carrying Cross is going to be marked as the leader of this group, he needs to lead this group. He needs to lead by example. He needs to win a championship. Karrion Kross needs gold. And the United States Championship, it's right there for him. How I feel about it. Now, as far as that street fight's concerned, boy oh boy, they stacked the deck on presentation. They put Snoop Dogg on commentary. They had a special guest referee in Bubba Ray Dudley. Fantastic. Um, the match really did highlight the Street Profits. I don't know how much it did. It really did highlight the Street Profits. I love that. Uh, really showcase what the Street Profits were capable of as a tag team if you didn't already know. Also, that pump kick by BFAB, where's that been hiding? I need more BFAB in the ring. I think BFAB in the ring with Scarlett is a great way to continue this overall faction to faction feud. And it really puts some value behind BFAB. Right now, kind of with Scarlett, Scarlett's been getting a lot of screen time even before the Final Testament group. She got a lot of screen time by being sort of that messenger for carrying Cross's torment. BFAB doesn't have that. She has that kind of roller position, but she doesn't really have that job. And I really think that putting her in competition and getting BFAB in the ring more often is really going to really benefit not only BFAB but the Pride as a whole. Uh, and Snoop Dogg on commentary, Jesus, like I didn't realize that I needed Snoop Dogg on commentary until I got Snoop Dogg on commentary. He was clearly already drunk. He was clearly already high, but that's Snoop Dogg, and we loved it. Apparently, we learned a little bit more about Michael Cole than we knew ahead of time. So, shout out Michael Cole. Rock with it. All right. The tag team match. I love the tag team match up the ladder. I thought that a 6-team ladder match was reckless. Um, but I understood. The ladder match, it's a lot of high spots. It came, I think, right after the Rhea Lynch match, night one. So I think that was a really good spot for it. Maybe I may have wanted to put one more match between Lynch and the tag match, but it's fine either way. Um, I predicted that Awesome Truth was going to walk away with tag team gold, and they did. I didn't predict that Grayson Waller and Austin Theory would have the other tag team championships once we realized that the tag titles are going to be split. But I'm okay with that because you have this really good comical babyface team of Awesome Truth, and you have this heel team of Waller and Austin Theory, and I'm okay with that. I think the stories that you can tell with those particular choices are really, really good. Uh, I wouldn't necessarily say that Austin Theory and Grayson Waller are the best tag team to hold those belts, but leading into the draft, I think we're okay. And I think they still do well in the ring, and I don't think that that's a problem. The match itself was really, really great. It was sudden to see Theory and Waller grab those titles, the SmackDown titles first. It happened quickly, and someone climbing the ring quickly doesn't happen very often. And I'm here for it. I'm down. I think that's pretty dope. I like how they kind of grabbed the titles. We didn't see it coming. That feels almost anticlimactic, but at the same time, feels more honest and more real. I feel like that's how that really would happen. One team would just, everybody else would be distracted. One team would just run up the ladder and grab one of the titles. Cool. And the fact that that didn't take them out of the match, they still had the option to win the Raw titles as well. I love that element to the whole match. I thought the match was done really, really great. It had a lot of high spots. All the other tag teams involved, DIY, New Catch Republic, the Judgment Day, of course, and the fourth team that I'm forgetting about, um, the New Day. How do you forget about the New Day? Um, they played their roles. Everyone did their part. The tag team match was fantastic. Uh, so I really like the new champions, and I like where the tag team divisions are going to go story wise. Um, I'm mentioning a lot about story, and this isn't a Cody thing, but it's one of the things I love about pro wrestling. One of the reasons why I do this podcast right here is because I love pro wrestling and I love the stories that are told. I tell people that professional wrestling is the greatest form of theater, and the storytelling is the reason why. And I've been able to convince at least one other person, and that's why in July I will be attending the Imaginarium convention. This is not a sponsored spot, though it probably should be, but I'm perfectly cool if it's not. The Imaginarium convention is a creative's dream. It's a great convention. I refer to it as Writer's Mania, and Writer Mania is in July. It's right around the corner, and I'm going to be a panelist, and I will be able to do the Wrestling and Writers panel, where we are going to be discussing all the elements of storytelling, regardless of your medium, regardless of what kind of creativity you express in your art. We'll be able to connect everything back to professional wrestling. Set design, art, music, storytelling, character building, all of that is fantastic and wonderful, and all of it has a prominent role in professional wrestling and nearly every other form of creative arts. So, if you are interested in anything creative, if you're interested in seeing how wrestling connects to that, come to Imaginarium in Louisville, Kentucky in July and attend the panel because I'll be there and me and some wonderful people will be discussing this exact topic. It's going to be dope. And yes, after the panel, I will be doing an episode of Moon Equals Wrestling where I will discuss all the things that were discussed in said. I'm saving that story for almost last. But first, I want to talk about Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch because I feel like that was one of the best matches on the card. Both days, both cards. Didn't matter. Men's match, women's match, doesn't matter. Rhea Ripley, Becky Lynch, best match at WrestleMania. Um, they tore the house down. They really challenged each other and they put the match together in such a way that you genuinely weren't sure who was going to win. The spots were great. The manhandle slam off the top, the rip tied into the turnbuckle. A masterpiece. Do I love Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley as wrestlers individually? I absolutely do. Could this be slightly uh, influenced by me finishing Becky Lynch's book, her literal story? No, honestly, it's not. I think objectively, it was a great match and still one of the best matches on the entire card. And I'm really, really glad we got to start off with a match that was that hot. You know what I mean? And it was a great opener. It was a great way to do it. As a matter of fact, both matches that opened both days were excellent choices, especially how they played out. Rhea Ripley was absolutely the correct choice to win that match. That's who I picked, and I believe it's the right call leading into the draft, leading into this new year, into this new era that we keep talking about. And watching Liv Morgan beat the hell out of her on Monday Night Raw was great. I love Rhea Ripley. She's a great champion. I don't think quite yet it's time for her to lose her title, but the way that we're selling Liv Morgan, it's about damn time she got this. I'm loving it. Loving every bit of it. Please, give me more of it. More, please. I said I want to leave the story to almost last. I have two more points, and then I'm essentially done. Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. Now, WrestleMania included a lot of factors that were bloodline related. There was the the Usos match. That was a bloodline related match that played into the end. There was the tag team matchup, which was the main event from the first night, and that happened exactly the way I wanted it to. It happened. It was bloodline rules on the line, and uh, by having Roman and The Rock win that match, it allowed for everything that happened in the night two main event to go down. And boy, was that fantastic. There was one more match that kind of played into that, but that's going to be the next uh, topic before I close. So, this Cody versus Roman match was overbooked in the greatest way possible. It was overbooked in a way that it was so nuts, so crazy, so much stuff was happening that all you could do was turn to the person next to you like, this is pro wrestling. This is why I watch pro wrestling. This is why pro wrestling is so great. So overbooked. Jimmy comes out in the third part and interferes. Jay takes care of Jimmy. Everything's cool. Solo comes out. John Cena returns. Take care of Solo. The Rock comes out to face off with uh, Seth Rollins, with John Cena. Seth Rollins comes out. Yes, everyone thought that Dean Ambrose was coming back. Everybody thought that there'd be a one-off, and we'd get either a Dean Ambrose or a John Moxley coming back in that Shield moment. Everyone thought it for at least a moment. Seth Rollins' spot was great. Him getting speared and not actually doing much to set up that last closing moment where Roman Reigns got to hit him with a chair. Fantastic choice and decision. Um, the Undertaker coming out to take care of The Rock. So overbooked. There's so much happening. And to close, they had set up this thing where Cody wasn't going to get away with doing one crossroad. He was trying to do a trifecta. He was trying to knock out three. And every time he tried to get to that third one, he got stopped. That set up a story that once he hits that third, it's over. He's going to win. All he has to do is hit the third. And he did. He hit the third, pinned Roman 1, 2, 3, middle of the ring. Roman gave him the ring. And it was done. That was it. The nearly 4-year reign of Roman Reigns as champion. It's over. And I'll go into how I feel about that more specifically in an entire episode by itself. I think when you're champion to that degree for that long, you deserve an entire episode on your own. So I fully intend to do a sort of a reflection on the championship title reign of Roman Reigns. Uh, but as far as Mania is concerned, Roman losing, Cody winning, Cody being basically deemed the official new face of WWE, I think that was the right call. I think now at the time, the title reign had gotten stale, and now we have new options for the championship. This may sound bad, but I don't want Cody holding the championship anywhere near as long as Roman. Quite honestly, Cody should be on his second title reign by the time next Mania comes. I want him to be champion at next year's Mania, but I don't want Cody to have stayed champion the entire time. Give Cody 2 to 3 months. God, call it 3 to 5 months. 3 to 5 months as champion. Let him lose for a few months. Let him gain his title back. Let's call it Rumble, and go into WrestleMania as champion. I would love that. So that's here. You heard it first. That's my prediction. That's what I would like. I think Cody's really good in the hunt for the title. There are other people who deserve a shot at that championship. We'll get through the draft. That's fine. LA Knight should probably be that person. I wouldn't even care if Cody loses it to LA Knight, Knight loses it to AJ Styles, triple threat match, and Cody gets it back at the Rumble at some point. I don't know. Cody does not need to win the Rumble. Do not let Cody win the Rumble again. Uh, but now that we have the title off of Roman, I think the next person in this conversation needs to be LA Knight. It's time. It's time. It's time. And now, for my last point. And I say this for last because, quite honestly, this was the match and the result that gave me the greatest pop. I'm literally sitting here, I jump out of my seat, arms in the air in celebration. I'm having a damn good time. Why? Because Damian Priest cashed in Money in the Bank and became your new World Heavyweight Champion. The Seth Rollins Drew McIntyre match was fine. It was also a match that played into the Bloodline story, having Seth being weakened by the tag team matchup from the night before. To go from the main event night 1 to the opening match night 2, it's the least amount of time to recover. Seth was beaten up. Drew took advantage of it. CM Punk was on commentary. And Drew pinned Seth, beat Seth. Drew celebrates, taunts Punk. Punk reacts. Damian Priest takes advantage. Comes out, beats the hell out of Drew. 1, 2, 3. Pins Drew McIntyre. Becomes new World Heavyweight Champion. I'm literally out of my chair. I am excited. I'm ecstatic. I am cheering out loud. I go run tell the kids that Damian Priest cashed in and that he's the new champion. And seeing him on Raw with that belt and that damn fly suit that my wife liked probably more than I should be comfortable with. The schools, whatever. Damian Priest as your World Heavyweight Champion is the right call. It was time and it happened, and I'm so happy for it. I'm so excited. So I'm happy about a new World Heavyweight Champion. I love what Judgment Day is forming out to be, but I'm curious on where we're going with the Dominic Andrade uh, situation that we have going. There's a rift right now in Judgment Day. I want Judgment Day to stay together, but there's a rift, and I'm kind of interested to see how this gets explored. And with that, that's it. WrestleMania 40 is in the books. We are in a brand new phase of WWE. Uh, Wrestling is looking good. Wrestling's doing good. AEW could use some work, and they pulled a stunt a couple nights ago that should be discussed. This episode's not it. So we'll discuss the state of AEW at some later point. Till then, I'm Dwan L. Hearn, more affectionately known as the Moon. Thanks for joining me on Moon Eagles Wrestling. Now again, try to find this button.